Joining us now in the studio to talk about your health is Dr. Raphael Meier, transplant surgeon at the University of Maryland Medical Center and associate professor of surgery at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. Your field, transplant procedures, the number keeps increasing, but the need keeps increasing as well. We can't keep up.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, that's correct. The waiting list for organs is increasing every year. More patients are added to it.
We have a chart, a graph that you brought that shows over a period of time on the bottom how potential kidney people with kidney failure do. The top line in green is people who get a living donor transplant. Below that, deceased, below that, waiting list, and without a transplant with dialysis, the prospect can be difficult.
Correct. Basically, what it shows is that the patient do not have a chance to get a transplant. The chance to, unfortunately, to pass away or die while on dialysis is about 50% after 5 years. And for those who get the chance to get a living donor or a deceased donor kidney transplant, the chances to survive at 5 years are all the way up to 90s plus.
And that brings us to the frontier of this field, which is xenotransplantation, and that is animal to human.
Correct. To try to fill the gap for all those patients who don't get a chance to get listed for kidney transplant, because they have contraindication, but also because we have a tremendous organ shortage. We don't have enough organs for everybody. We're trying to fill the gap by coming up with solutions, and one of them is pig to human xenotransplant.
There have been some early efforts and some optimism from that.
Correct. So at University of Maryland, we did actually the first case in the world in a living patient. That was a heart transplant to someone who had no other option and would have died immediately without the transplant. You know, we learned so much. The patient survived for 2 additional months, which was, you know, amazing at that time. And we were then followed by other U.S. institutions in Boston and in New York who proceeded with other transplant and involving kidney xenotransplant as well. And 4 have been done so far.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question about organ transplantation, please send us the question by email, livequestions@mpt.org. The challenge, the biggest challenge is rejection. What does that mean?
So the body is designed to destroy whatever is foreign, and you have this phenomenon between human to human transplant at a lesser extent, but still something that we had to work for decades and decades to overcome. In xenotransplant, it's basically the most difficult situation because the organ from the pigs, despite all the genetic modification that we do these days to increase the acceptance of the organ, there are still many what we call antigens. There are small particles in the kidney that are recognized by us, by humans, and we start producing antibodies against them, and then the rejection process takes on. So we have to give immunosuppressors to kind of block that. And also, as I mentioned, we do genetic modifications to allow the kidney to be less what we call immunogenic.
Is there a range of how much you can suppress somebody's immune system, you know, depending what has been transplanted? How much immune suppression is needed to prevent a full rejection?
Well, that's an excellent question. We have to be careful because it's all a balance. If you immunosuppress, if you give too much anti-rejection to someone, they're at greater risk of infection. And the more you push, the greater is the risk. And then on the other side, if you don't give enough, you're at more risk of rejection. So if you push it too far, you can have what we call opportunistic infections that can endanger the life of the recipient. And that's a critical point. We can go pretty far, but there is a limit.
Is there something about these particular organs, kidneys in particular, because we know certain animal tissues, thinking heart valves, have been used in people for a long time?
That's another great question. Heart valves are what we call decellularized. So basically, we wash them of their cells, and the antigens that I mentioned earlier, the molecules that are giving the reason for rejection, are washed away. So basically, only the scaffold remains, and those last much, much longer. But we've recently observed that heart valve might also cause to some degree, some sort of very, very, very slow ongoing rejections.
How optimistic are you when you study this, when you work on it in your lab, when you and your colleagues deal with hearts and other things, other medical institutions? If we look down the horizon 10 years, is this going to be common?
Well, that's a great point. It's kind of hard to say. There was a saying in the field that we say the future of xenotransplantation is going to remain the future, and it was proven wrong. And we started it at University of Maryland, and I think that was when I first saw that heart starting to beat. I had the impression I was witnessing history. And we heard it for so many years that it would never come, that when it came, it was really almost like science fiction. Now we face new challenges, and we learned so much, and it's a stepwise process. So right now we're, again, in a very, very much learning process. I would say in 10 years, I would expect some trials would be going on, very well-rounded trials with patients who have no other options. But I would not expect that they would be the mainstream yet and the main indication for transplant.
Viewer question. This is Bill, wants to know, do the animal organs undergo any treatment or modification before being transplanted into the human recipient? Now, I mean, I've read about genetic modifications. Beyond that, you mentioned how the heart valves can be treated. Is there any ability to do that?
Well, the living organ has to be physiologically active. So no, we cannot wash them of their cells. So there are several types of modifications. And yes, we can modify the organs so they're more compatible. The number one, it modifies the sugars. The sugars on top of every pig organ are not completely, they're recognized by the human body. And those sugars, what we call the knocked out. So there are three main enzymes for those sugars that are knocked out. That's what we hear sometimes, triple knockout pig. And on top of that, there are genes added. And sometimes you will see the term transgene, meaning that we add some genes, for example, for coagulation, or for a complement, which is also another molecule that is involved in the rejection and coagulation, and they're added to enhance the recognition as not foreign by the human body. And the last one concerns some genetic modification to remove any pig viruses. For example, there is a virus that the pig have that we don't have. We don't know, and we don't think it has consequences in human, but to be completely safe, we remove them from the genome so they're absent. So those are the three kinds of kind of modifications we're using right now.
Are there potential ethical issues as well? I mean, it seems cut and dried. If someone is down to their last hours, they have no other path to survival other than the heart of a pig. The life of the pig takes the back seat there, but people worry about animal welfare. How carefully is that being factored into this research?
That is also a very important point, and that's a point we, as a community of the xenotransplant research, we give the highest importance. This being said, there are 50,000 pigs per day almost that are used for food, and millions every year. So in any case, I think the use of pigs for medical reasons would be a very low fraction of that. But despite this, we care for this, and we're trying to make everything possible so those pigs are treated with the greatest standards.
Let's bring it back to the bread and butter transplant work that you do. April is Donate Life Month. What do you want our viewers to know about this?
Well, I think the number one thing is to recognize the gift from donors, and I think it's very important to pause and to recognize that. It's every time I see someone, and today I had a couple of people showing up at the clinic willing to donate their kidneys to their next of kin, and I tell them this is amazing. What you're about to do is one of the greatest things you can do in life. So I think this month is about that, to pause and to recognize that some healthy persons are going on the surgery table to take a risk and to help someone else. And by extension, all the persons who sign up for being an organ donor where something happened to them, that has to be recognized too. But this is an incredible gift, and the life they save after their death are invaluable, and that's the time to recognize that.
And it's not just kidneys that can come from living donors, because we have two, we need one, but you can take a piece of someone's liver.
Correct.
And it grows back.
Correct. So the liver is amazing, because yes, you can split it and you can donate that part, and as a matter of fact, it will grow back in both the recipient and the donor. And in a few weeks, the volume of the liver will grow back to normal. So that is also an amazing gift.
And one of the things we saw in that chart at the beginning of the program was the benefit of the living donation versus the deceased donor.
Correct.
It makes a difference in those kidney patients.
Yes, it absolutely does. The living donors the kidneys coming from living donors are by far the best option. It gives you the longest graft survival. It's the highest quality organ, and you can, it can be scheduled, and it can really extend the life of their recipient extensively, and that's the best option.
For people who have not marked their driver's license with the donor designation, hesitate for whatever reason, in just a sentence or two, what would you say?
I would say it's a personal decision, and I think this is good that when you sign up for the driving license, you pause and you think about that. I think the first step is to think about it, and in many occasions you don't even have to think about that, but to make that proactively is good. It's a personal decision, but there's a saying that say, donate your organ. God knows you won't use it up there.
Dr. Meier, we have to leave it there. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.